So there's a tool called BookMap that you can use for futures trading, and to be honest, it is a pretty useful tool. The only issue is it says here start for free, but in reality, when you're going to use something like BookMap to get access to all these cool heat map, volume dots, or things like that, it's going to cost you somewhere between $39 and $79 a month. And that's also including data, which will add on another $20, $30 a month as well. So you're talking $60 to $70 a month, if not more, depending on what features you want access to, but most people are going to want access to, at the very minimum, this global package. But there is an alternative, and that is to go through MotiveWave with Lucid, and then you can basically make all of this stuff for a one-time fee of about $50 to $60, which I have been doing for the past 2 or 3 months. And not only do you get access to the heat map and the volume dots, you also get access to a real professional order flow based charting platform, where you can get access to volume profile, which is based on tick data, which is another benefit, as well as about 100 million different indicators that you could want to use as well, which does include other indicators such as the cumulative delta, which I will use, the CVD, and if you wanted to look at a DOM, then you could look at an entire DOM, and you won't even have to pay for a data fee since it is included with your one-time fee from Lucid. Anyway, enough about that. I've spoke about that in a different video, which will be in the description of this one actually, or just search on my channel MotiveWave and you'll see it. Today I'm going to show you how to set up this heat map, since it is a pretty useful tool for a lot of people. So let's set up a new page, and we're just going to do a single chart, and we'll just call it YouTube, and that will load up a normal chart with whatever defaults you've got. So off the bat, we want to swap the candlesticks for a squared line. This will give us that nice bookmap looky line that follows price instead of obviously just candlesticks. And it will have the label here for the instrument that you're trading, but we'll get rid of that later. So now let's jump into the chart settings. And this is where we're going to do most of the stuff to get this heat map on here. But first, I'm going to make it so that your chart settings are right, so it doesn't look like a mess when you load the order heat map up. So we're going to keep our bar size as linear on the bar settings, but we're going to change this minute bar to a millisecond bar, and we're going to set that at a 500 type bar. And then here with the label line, we can just press none. That'll get rid of this little ES number here. So if we just hit apply, you can see all of that happen. Scaling is the other main thing that will change. We're going to change this from auto scale to a price range scale. And for starters, we'll just set this off as 80. You can customize this to suit whatever you want to see. If you want to see more of a price range, then you can do more. If you want to see less, then you can do less. And then we'll also set this edge setback as 24. This will just make it so when price gets to a certain point on the chart, it will get knocked back, so it's not ever going to like run off the chart, if that makes sense. So now we've done that, let's actually get the order heat map on here. So we're going to come up to studies, and you can either search in here order heat map, or you can just look for it down here. It normally is right here. So there's a few settings we'll change on here. If you have this set to this gray color, you want to change that immediately to this more vibrant color. That's going to give it more of that bookmap style look. We're going to take the minimum size filter and drag that all the way down to 0. And we're also going to enable a minimum order size so we can filter by size, and then max size filter, we'll drag that up to 100, but we are going to add a thing in the toolbar, which we will do right now. And then we want to be able to change the max size filter. So if we just add that, and then it'll plot all that stuff on your chart. And that looks weird just because I did tell you to do something wrong then. It's just a tick of the box. You just don't want this minimum order size. That's my fault. I was thinking forward to a different part in the video where we will be adding this, but yeah, take that down. And then if we adjust the max size filter, you can see that this is going to already look pretty much there. And the reason we have this max size filter at the top is because when there is a lot of orders in the market, specifically some big ones, then it can kind of mess up how the heat map is going to look. So you're going to want to adjust this and just have it to whatever you want it as. I typically keep it somewhere between 95 and 100. 100 doesn't normally make it look like this. It normally just is a lot quieter, but 99 works fine for me for what it looks like right now. But yeah, I might honestly even sometimes, if the order heat map gets very populated with big orders, take it all the way down to 90. But you can just visually see, like when you adjust it, you want to just be able to clearly see where the big orders are. We can see if I have it on 95 around now, then we can see there's a big order up at 6,900. If I drag it all the way down to like 70, then it just becomes a bit of a shitstorm. And this now obviously becomes just not very helpful at all. So that's your order heat map. Now to add the volume dots, the volume bubbles that we can see here, that is just a simple indicator called big trades, which if I search for in here, big trades, we can see that and we can get that on there. We'll just add it for now and then we'll adjust it. So if we go into all settings, it's going to start you off with these, and these honestly are basically where we want them to be. The only thing we'll change is the minimum trade size. This is the thing that I got wrong on the order heat map. You want this to be set at 50. This is going to be the minimum size of a trade for it to show an actual volume dot or volume bubble. And obviously we want to set that at a reasonable level, because if we set it at like 1, we're just going to see like every trade entering the market and it's going to be too much. Whereas if we filter it to the big players, then we can get an idea of what the big participants, the big institutional players with big size are actually doing in the market. Now 50 is what I use for the New York AM session, which is when I personally trade. If you're trading the overnight session, like right now, it's just before London, so you're not going to see any bubbles right now with a minimum trade size of 50. But if I put this at like 5, apply that, you can see that there is going to be some bubbles on here that do show up. And then one useful thing to add in here is to go into the toolbar and just have to show in the toolbar the max circle size. So if you want to change how big these circles are, then you can simply come here and drag this bar just like with the order heat map sensitivity. Or you can just click this settings thing up here where the indicator is and change that. Same with the minimum trade size. But yeah, there you go. That's how you set up the order heat map and the big trades. You can use this to see where resting orders are in the market. Think of it as like a visually appealing version of the DOM, which is a little bit easier on your eyes, and you can obviously adjust it to include every trade in the market, or you can only see the big trades, which is mainly what most people look for in this. They want to see where the big limit orders are resting in the market right now. And then when we get up to them, we can see if they actually do get filled or pulled, because if we get up to this and we see a big market bubble appear, then we know that that order got filled. If it just disappears, then we know it got pulled and spoofed. But hopefully we were able to set that up with no issues. If there were any, let me know and I'll try and help in the comments below. But you should now have an order heat map all ready to go, and you only have to pay a one-time fee for this. You're not going to have to pay the outrageous BookMap price. And if you want to know how you can get access to MotiveWave for a very cheap one-time fee, because if you just try and buy MotiveWave normally, then it's going to cost you a lot. But if you go through Lucid, which I explained in that video right there, then you'll be able to do exactly what I'm doing here and get everything for as cheap as I'm getting it. That is all from me in this video, boys. So I'll wish you good luck, good trading. Catch you later.